Okay, you guys can turn off your camera for a second. When I will stop and you can turn on again.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It depends on your time. Welcome back again to Image Appeal's live stream. I'm your host, Muhammad Az, Image Appeal's brand ambassador. You can call me Az, no problem. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. So, designing for fashion and apparel. Well, it's a creative process of crafting clothing and accessories that reflect style and functionality. Fashion designers translate their artistic visions into tangible garments by considering fabric choices, patterns, fit, and aesthetics. This dynamic field encompasses market research, sketching, prototyping, and manufacturing, all while staying attuned to evolving trends and consumer preferences, whether for personal expression or commercial ventures. Fashion and apparel design blends artistry, innovation, and practicality to shape our everyday choosing. It seems like an interesting topic here, right? Anyways, at this moment, we will know more about the background of our guest speaker, Primo. Hello, Primo. How are you?
What's up, guys? How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. We need to know more about you.
Well, let's get right into it. 20 years of self-starting business experience, some of which has been in the design, creating and production format in all aspects, really, from physical garments to just conceptualization down to even audio. I've worked in the music business for a few years as well, which, all the creativity and the ideas and the experience is what builds the ability to discuss something of this nature. So, I wouldn't say that I'm like all the way versed in one discipline, that I have like good experience in a few different disciplines that culminate to be able to talk to you guys today about what it takes to grow in the fashion industry.
Okay, got more than 20 years of industry experience. Wow, that is amazing.
I
Isn't
started
it?
young. I started very young. At 15, 16 years old, I was already on my way to, following my dreams. And so that's how that happens.
Amazing. Well, it's a great experience and honor to have you here as our guest for today's event. Moving
Thank you.
forward to our interview, we've prepared some mind-provoking questions, and we'd love to be empowered by your overview and thoughts. Today, we're
So let's
going to take a
start.
deep dive to discover the essence and the beauty of fashion and apparel. But first, we need to know, what does that mean from Primo point of view? So how do you define your unique design aesthetic in the fashion industry?
Well, let's not answer this question from a one-sided perspective. I will give mine first, and then I will give a general overview of what I think is a strong answer for that question. I do believe that my personal design aesthetic is mainly rooted in comfort. It doesn't matter if I have on a suit, jeans, sweats. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, casual work attire. If it's not comfortable, then I'm personally not happy. Now, moving on to the industry, when it comes to creating for the industry, maybe our viewers don't know, but a lot of the fashion world is a season or two ahead in their production. And so trends is a large part of this industry and this business. And you see now that notion of following trends and investing based on the trends is still part of the business. However, there is a newfound approach towards the innovative, and so I would say that the game is shaking up just a little bit. The industry shaking up a little bit, where you have a lot of youth input. You have more youth input, more, even though there's still I don't want to use the word gatekeeper, but there's still a hierarchy to the system in fashion. And so, but a lot of the people who have the power to unleash a design into the masses are looking more for a youth or new approach. You don't have to be young to have a new approach, but that's what I would say. Currently, I'm finding. But as far as design aesthetic is concerned, overall, I would say that the reason why you see so many various brands and style of clothing is because each individual is seeking their own comfort in what it is that they wear. And so also with the growth, with the changes in the the 2000s per se, we're in 2020s decade. People are thinking, feeling, acting. I mean, I feel like everything that we know has slightly changed, and so has
Absolutely.
fashion.
Indeed, yeah. You've captured the essence of the unique design aesthetic, powerful definition. But what if we try to, let's say, design fashion that combines classic elegance with modern creativity? As you said, we're in 2023 right now, because our goal here is to create a sophisticated, well-crafted garments that push boundaries.
Well,
right? So let's proceed. When it comes to market research plays a crucial role in the fashion design process by providing valuable insights and guiding key decisions. We would like to know, what role does market research play in the fashion design process?
Huge. And
Absolutely.
huge, because as I previously noted, you know, creating a fashion brand is timing. And so when you have the idea, you still have production and execution, and all of that is time. And potentially by the time your item, your produced piece meets the market in which to be sold, the trend or the style might be on its way out.
Absolutely.
So, right. So when it comes to market research, I personally feel that field real research is one of the stronger, highest percentage of accuracy that you could have when it comes to trying to discover, what's coming.
Mhm.
So ideally, if someone wanted to create a brand that was beach orientated, surf orientated, region, California, Hawaii, places where surfers or a beach lifestyle was something,
Mhm.
you need to catch a plane over there and you need to hang out in certain environments and pay attention to what you see, the colors, traditions, staple locations, really anything that speaks to the definition of that region demographic, is strong market research. In addition to that, we have the internet, and the internet allows you to probe, just endlessly. And so I would say the combination of these two tools is probably how someone now is going to find um, you know, the most traction in just having like
Mhm.
an overabundance of ideas they can start to play with and kind of flesh
Mhm.
out what they want to create.
Well, let's say it's a competitive analysis, right? Like market research involves analyzing competitors' offerings, pricing and strategies, and marketing approaches. As you said, this
Mhm.
information helps you to position your brand effectively and differentiate your products in the market. Let's say distinguish, or on the other word, stand out from the crowd. And this will take us to the next point about how do you identify and analyze current fashion trends.
Well, I do believe that a lot of what we're getting at with that question involves, really is youth culture, because
Mhm.
they set the trends. I say they as a group, just being the next up to purchase,
Mhm.
because we have established brands and they have established customers. For example, in the fashion world, Polo, Brooks Brothers, these are brands that I'm familiar with as men's fashion. um
Mhm.
they have an identified client, that their business is so structured that they know who to attack. And when it comes to, youth market and innovation, I feel as though it's almost like you can't fully predict. You can only make an educated guess based on what it is you're looking at in the data marks. And, you know, that would go into pretty much like just having an assessment. It's like a strong assessment of the repeating factors that you may see in said fashion world or aesthetic world, or beauty, things of that nature.
Mhm. I got an idea right now, just come across my mind. What about street style? People watching can be an excellent source of inspiration.
Right,
Observe what people in your target demographic, as you said, are wearing in your city or other fashion forward locations. That
right,
absolutely would be really helpful.
right.
Uh,
And it's free.
uh,
It's free. It doesn't
yeah,
cost
it's
you anything
free.
to pay attention.
There's no cost here. Yeah, it was just a simple brainstorming. In fact,
No, but this is it. I mean, you could get a group of three like minds and have a power session where you go to a frequented area and just start taking notes on what it is you see. And when you get back to the round table, you break it down. I mean, these are methods and ways for someone who, doesn't have the ability to draw their own cue points about what it is they want to see. So they take themselves to a place where everyone is wearing what it is you're trying to create, or some sort of variant of what it is you're trying to create. And that could be,
Mhm.
for example, I'm not as well versed in suits and corporate wear. So if I wanted
Mhm.
to become more familiar with what is trending now, or what is traditional, right? I'm gonna visit some locations. I'm gonna visit a corporate area. I'm gonna pay and just really use my eyes to take notes on what I'm seeing, and then I could take that back to my drawing table and begin to
Mhm.
create.
Right, definitely. In fact, fashion is certainly a highly competitive industry, which means you gotta understand who do you talk to, who do you provide to, who do you sell to in order to attract more customers and gain market share, right? Could you explain the importance of understanding your target audience in fashion design?
Repeat that question one more time for me, Mohammed.
I just said the fashion design, highly competitive industry, which means you gotta understand who you're talking to, who you're selling to, right?
Right.
You gotta understand that, right? So that you can attract more customers and getting market share. Could you
Right.
explain the importance of understanding your target audience in fashion design?
Well, understanding your target audience is gonna, one, help your bottom line in regards to spending, right? You have your budgets for marketing, and the more you know about your client or
Uh-huh.
your client, you know, in theory, is the less wasteful marketing dollars
Uh-huh.
that will go out. Um, and then besides that,
Uh-huh.
we have, tailoring your garments to speak to a certain audience. And so again, understand, because there's a lot of phrases and catchphrases and titles used in, streetwear, um, and even just highly sellable garments. You know, people tend to, or brands tend to, manufacturers tend to use kind of dated styly, whether it's language or phrases or even colorings or patterns. They could be kind of dated, and that would go back to, not to get too off the question, but that would go back to just understanding like what type of clothes you want to make, because we have items that are timeless, that, I mean,
Mhm.
year after year, summer after summer, you could wear this item.
Mhm.
But then there's some items that the color, the texture, the phrasing, the pattern, it's just going to speak to when you bought it.
Mhm.
So when you're creating, you want to ask yourself that too. Am I in the business of selling clothes that people want for now, or am I in the business of selling clothes that people want forever?
Mhm.
So it's
Amazing.
also something to manage against now. Another quick tidbit, fast fashion is popular these days, and that's H&M, stores of that. I don't know if you're familiar with H&M. That's an American brand that they make a little bit of everything, but it's kind of basic, but they use highly trendable imagery and phrases. Sometimes they'll use like a classic logo,
Mhm.
um, some type of licensing, but that category of clothing is sometimes gets a bad name because of the way in which the clothes are manufactured. It's a lot of
Mhm.
labor issues with where the clothes are being made, just poor conditions, right? Because there's got to be some corners being cut for the clothes to reach the market at a minimal price. Well, then it couldn't cost them this much to sell it for this much. So,
Mhm.
these are all just points to consider as someone who's making a brand. You ask yourself all the questions: who do I want to be in the market? I mean, there's room for everybody. There are mom and pop restaurants, and then there's McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King, and they're all doing business. But who's your customer, and who do you want to deal with as a creator? So these are the questions.
Wonderful. We know
Mhm.
that every brand has its own key elements to be successful, right?
Mhm.
Then a successful fashion brand's identity is essential for building a strong and memorable presence in the market. It
Mhm.
helps in connecting with customers, establishing a unique position, and fostering brand loyalty. I'd like you to tell me what are the key elements of a successful fashion brand's identity?
Well, one is has nothing to do with making anything, and it has
Mhm.
everything to do with who you're speaking to and what you're saying. Now, that goes with different measures. Okay, so for what it's worth, some audiences are slightly brainless and they just want to see colors and action, and your message is not really anything more than, do you like it, buy it, great. Then there are the other items as far as brand identity that
Mhm.
have more of a grassroots, community driven, like, end goal. And that would be a company like maybe Tom's Shoes, that for every pair of shoes they sell, they give one away to like a foreign country, people who can't afford shoes. I mean, that's a serious like commitment as a brand. But
Mhm.
their product, just to give you an example, their product reaches certain buyers based on that one fact alone. Not even that they like the shoes, because the shoes are very basic and come in different colors, but very basic. Nothing like
Mhm.
Nike or anything like that.
Mhm.
But they're doing respectable numbers in the business because they're doing respectable humanitarian work. And so, just to give an example of brand identity, and as per to your question, how that translates and how to attack it. I think each company that's looking to get into the fashion industry needs to ask themselves, who do I want to be, and that, or what do I want this company to be, and rather you tailor your approach based on that factor, and not so
Mhm.
much the designs or the trends, because that doesn't really matter. If you choose your humanitarian side of it, then that could be your like bread and butter as to how your
Mhm.
product reaches the masses.
Mhm.
So just again, a brand identity as a fashion
Mhm.
house has
Mhm.
changed. It has changed, with the changes in society. And I feel like when it comes to fashion, a lot of what sticks in the end and turns out to be a popular or financially applicable company, um
Mhm.
it has to do a lot with what's happening in the social times.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
also needs to be a part of the company's aesthetic. What are we thinking about? Or rather, what part of the times are we highlighting? Because there are different points of interest, for the decade per se. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to take this part and we're going to exasperate this part. And, so that would be my thoughts on that piece.
Amazing. Let's advance. Developing a concept for a new clothing line or collection. It's a creative and strategic process that involves several steps. How do you go about developing a concept for a new clothing line or collection?
I think there's two parts initially come to mind. I think one is
Uh,
like innovation. Like,
mhm.
one is innovation, like what's new? What do I not see? What's just not out there? A lot of that could be materials. There's a lot, like, clothes are all made from different source materials, and perhaps you go at it from that route, and
Mhm.
maybe it's just a new material not being used yet. New
Mhm.
applique, like
Mhm.
in embroidery. Nowadays, for an example, nowadays you see a lot of embroidery stitched items on the clothes, and it's a little more texturized.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I feel like most of that is I'm sorry, Mohammed. Repeat to me the question one more time, because I feel like I had something I really
Yeah,
wanted to say, and I was
yeah,
like
yeah.
thinking.
It's yeah, yeah. I mean, developing a concept for a new clothing line or collection, right? It's
Right.
absolutely kind of creative, and there is a little bit of strategic process that it has to be. We would say involves several steps. We would
The
like to
thing that came
know
to
what kind
mind,
of those steps. Yeah.
is filling a void. I feel like that's key, in designing something that, again, you're filling a market that you might have seen was available in your goings and just your everyday living. You're starting to see, oh, well, I don't see this, I don't see that. And you start filling the void. And over time, maybe you make a prototype, maybe you make a capsule, that just goes out to a few, and you begin to get your feelers there. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to developing an idea and then flushing out the actual art or the actual just production of the item, it's definitely a combination of first seeing it in your mind, understanding, right, playing around with a few items, and then putting it out into the market and just getting your feedback, right? Because that feedback is huge. You get good feedback, now you want to be more invested. You get bad feedback, you're like, okay, let me try again. Let me stop spending money on this.
Fascinating. Wow. I've heard that creating mood boards and sketches is crucial as well, crucial part of the design process. And we could say as well, other creative industries have a little bit of this kind of mood boards and sketches. And what is the significance of creating mood boards and sketches during the design process?
Well, there's something that happens when the eye and the brain, it's like you have ideas, but then when you see them, right, you can start to like move things around. You're like, oh, well, this is better for this reason, and this is not better for this reason. You can say, oh, this is good, but it's going to cost us, or it helps you flush out the ideas that are most meetable with the least amount of obstacles. So it's kind of like a visual value add system, value add board, where you're pinning up visual cues or words or phrases of ideas to which you're trying to move, in the direction of which you're trying to move. And the more concepts and visuals you can paste to this mood board or just visual, roadmap, you're, again, the brain versus the eye. And when you put the two together, you start coming up with new ideas, and that's new ideas, or you start removing ideas. And that's also just as important as having a good idea is removing an idea and saying, this is not for now, this is for later. Right. And so that's kind of, in my opinion, what a mood board does. And again, just going back to the notion, that there's a lot to be said about what you can see with your eyes and how that translates into your ability to see it come to life, as opposed to just thinking about it or even having notes per se might not be enough. Like that's what a mood board is, or good for.
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, when it comes to fabrics, selecting appropriate fabrics, the choice of fabric can greatly impact the look, feel, and functionality of garments. Several factors should be considered when making fabric selections. How do you select the appropriate fabrics for your designs?
It's an equation of cost, cost versus need. Right. So let's say you might have an item that you want to produce that it needs to have this certain type of material, and there is no workaround, there is no substitute, because it's the basis of your item. That would be something like a tech jacket, like technical wear, items that are designed to like be waterproof or outdoor measures, things of that nature, insulation. So yeah, like when it comes to sourcing materials, a lot of it has to be based on what is the end of the what is the outcome of the project. And then in addition to that, the other component is the quality and lasting appeal, right? Some products meet a price point in the market that you know it's not going to last you very long. And then there are some products that are made with certain materials that have a higher price point that we can infer based on the price of the item. This is a well-made garment and it'll last me, some time. So you're getting your money's worth. But again, even if you buy something inexpensive and it lasts you a year or two, did you get your money's worth because it was inexpensive? So it's a toss-up, and you leave that decision to the consumer. But as the manufacturer, you ask yourself, what is it that I want to make? What is it that I want this company to be known for?
Great. What factors? Yeah, go on.
I was just going to add in the end, thanks for noticing, Mohammed. I was going to add in the end that, certain companies that have built like grander appeal, like a Ralph Lauren polo, as the years went on and as the notion that their product might be outpriced, meaning that some people might have wanted to buy Ralph Lauren polo, but that they couldn't afford it. Well, what happened was that Ralph Lauren as a company, began to find some loopholes in the system where certain stores would take their runoff material and sell it at a cheaper price, which allows them to get into the market of the consumer that wants to pay less, but still wants to look a little more high end. And so, right, that's just a whole system that was developed after luxury brands were like formed. Well, they realized, hey, we got a lot of leftover clothes, but we don't want to sell them like for cheap in our store. So these other stores, i.e., you may not be familiar, but like a Marshall's or like some type of secondary, brick and mortar, that their whole thing is more expensive brands for less. So, again, this is just B2B industry talk, but it's just going to show you how like even a big company that has like, $1,000 suits, they will find a way to reform their companies or create sub companies that allow them to meet the price point for a lesser market without losing their integrity as a big brand. So, I throw that out there to say, when it comes to creating, you can start in one way, or you could, elevate to a certain stature, and then you create some infrastructure to be able to off product in a less expensive market without losing brand integrity.
Pretty good. What factors influence your choices? For instance, I said what factors influence your choices.
Right.
We could say, for instance, emotions. Emotions play a significant role in design making. People may choose options that make them feel happy, confident, or satisfied, and avoid choices that evoke negative feelings like fear or sadness. Is this example we should take it considered, or do you have other point of views?
Well, that was a very loaded question because there's a lot of psychology in fashion, and that boils down to the human mind. And I'm trying to find my words. So the consumer purchases items for two reasons. They either want to be noticed, or they just want to be comfortable. So, and this is just an opinion, but some people buy because the clothes that they buy make them feel that they're moving in a different space than they might actually be. And this is the psychology sort of behind luxury brands. I mean, like, Gucci, Louis, all this high luxury brands. There's a psychology to this. And so, I mean,
like giving them illusion of wealthy or rich, or all this stuff, right?
That is what I was trying to get to. And so then you have other brands that speak to the blue collar individual who just wants to be comfortable. They want to have the right attire for the right situation. but they're not looking to evoke any other thoughts from the onlooker. You know, and so that's where the fashion thing takes two roads, because it's like you have items that are made for those that want to make them feel a certain way, and then you have another road which also makes them feel a certain way, but it's comfort versus inclusion. So those, I would just use those two words. Those are two avenues, because with inclusion, well, you have to build your garments to make the person feel like when they put them on, they can be included in a space that they're not part of. And then when it comes to comfort, well, the consumer's not thinking about what the onlooker's thinking. They're just thinking about how they feel about themselves. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, that could be one reason why thrift has caught on as like a big fashion in America. But it's a guess.
Awesome. When it comes to pattern making is a fundamental and high specialized process in fashion design. We'd like to know first, what is pattern making? What does that mean?
Pattern making is when you design icons or elements that are tileable. Is that a word? You can tile them together and they're seamless. There's no break in the pattern. One of those would be like houndstooth. It's like the little, I don't even know if it's just like a little pattern that just goes around and around, but it's been around forever. And people, you know, people use it in different ways now. But that would be, you know, like one example of that. But you could take anything and create a pattern from it. But that would be the definition of of pattern making in fashion.
Is it crucial?
Well, it's a fundamental component to what fashion was in its infancy. And so, you know, I feel like I'll give a weird analogy right now. Pattern making is crucial because it's a fundamental component. However, as a analogy, you know, gasoline was a fundamental component of cars in their infancy, but now we have electric cars. And a lot of people don't like electric cars because you can't hear there's no vroom.
Yeah.
Right? Which is synonymous with a car. So if we go to fashion and we say, oh, well, pattern making, like you can't be in fashion if you don't know pattern making. I don't know. I don't know if that's true now. Just like you can't say, well, you can't drive a car if you don't have gasoline. That's definitely not true now. So, you know, it is fundamental in your understanding of fashion design, period. But it may not be fundamental for someone who's starting out now that wants to create something. That's not all the way true. The same way, if someone wants to be into cars now, they could completely start with electric cars and completely forget about gasoline. You know, it wouldn't be smart, but you understand what I'm saying?
Well done.
The society has the capacity to absorb that. It's not like it's not quite flying cars yet. Flying cars might be a little further away, but they're around the corner too.
We're gonna jump into another vital point as well. It's about prototyping and sampling. Why is prototyping and sampling important?
I mean, it's a lot of factors. One, you get a fit. You get a fashion fit. You get to put the clothes on. You get to see, the length and the cut. Is it too tight? And is it bunched in certain places? Do you have to extend, certain millimeters or inches? I mean, that is paramount, critical number one when it comes to prototyping and sampling, right? Because different manufacturers will make your item differently. If you send the same tech pack to 3 different manufacturers, you will get back 3 different items. And it's just the way it is. I mean, they're all made by hand for the most part. or human touch. So there will be factors that are just different. But then when it comes to because a lot of fashion houses are overseas, so when it comes to sampling and prototyping, this is what gives you the opportunity to touch the fabric. You might wash it one time. You might check the sew strength. You might pull on the arms. I mean, there are a lot of benefactors to having prototypes and samples, that allow you to save time and money.
Time and
Companies
money,
don't have time
absolutely.
and
That's
money.
what I wanted to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to come out. Okay. So what do you learn from this process?
Well, I personally think that there's no substitute for experience, and you have to go through the motions.
Uh-huh.
And so, for someone who's sending out designs to be created, by going through the motions, you get the experience. And after a while, you may say, hey, I really just want to go with this one manufacturing house because they're doing everything right the first time. So that would be, why you want to just dive right in and get to making your materials and your items and your creations. And you want to work with different houses, production houses. They all come with different weighing factors, and so you want to try them all, and through that experience you will gain the knowledge of saying, well, I want to go with this. Or maybe you find a certain region of the world that just does it right. I mean, again, it's like you got to put out the energy. You have to try, and through trying you get success.
We got a valuable insights from you. I'm excited to keep going.
Good.
Ensuring that your garments have the right fit and comfort for your target audience is another essential point in fashion design. So how do you ensure that your garments have the right fit and comfort for your target audience?
Well, that's your due diligence, after you get your source material back and after you get your first productions. You find your 3 models, different sizes, different weights. You haven't put the items on, over the head, over the arms, to raise the arm. Does the sleeve, there's all these little things. You raise your arms up, does the waist go up too high? There's a lot of little things to look at, and seams, hems. But yeah, once you get your productions back and you start throwing them on the models, that's when you start to really dial down. Did you get it right the first time, or do you got to go back a little bit?
Can you explain what tech packs are?
Oh, sure. A tech pack is a graphically produced element that's traditionally on paper, traditionally of late computerized, and it's the atlas to the manufacturer to how to build your product. So it's going to have every detail. It's going to have the Pantone color of your items. It's going to have the sizing in inches or millimeters or metric, whatever metric. It's going to have the names of the material expected for use. It's pretty much the one document that is your land map, survey map to what this item should look like. And that's what a tech pack is.
How they aid in the production process?
Say again, Mohammed?
I said, how they aid in the production process? How can they
help
in the production?
How do they aid? Oh, this is just for analogy perspective. I mean, this is the blueprint to a house.
Yeah.
So everyone, I mean, we've all seen them. You got the hard hat, we got the map, and we're studying the map, and we're building the house. As an architect, he's commanding his construction team to follow his orders. And essentially, that's what a tech pack is. A tech pack is, a document, whether physical or computerized, that instructs the manufacturer what they're supposed to be doing. So if they have a question, they're supposed to be able to rather refer to the tech pack for most instruction. They shouldn't have to get on the phone. They shouldn't have to send an email. They might, but it should all be in the tech pack, ideally.
Oh, amazing. Well, we'll move on. Another point, selecting the right manufacturers for your clothing line can significantly impact the quality, cost, and success of your products. What considerations should you keep in mind when sourcing manufacturers for your clothing line?
Location, cost,
Good.
reputation.
Wow.
When I say reputation, is it a new company? Right? Do they have other things they've done for other people? That's one. Cost is a factor. Overseas tends to be less expensive, but sometimes you have issues with fine-tuning the item. When you go overseas, sometimes it's more complicated to fix an issue because of the timing, shipping time. These things just play a role. So for those three things, location, cost, reputation, you kind of want to put those three things together.
You get it concisely. Ensuring the quality of your garments during the production phase can deliver products that meet consumer expectations and maintain your brand's reputation. How can you ensure the quality of your garments during the production phase?
You want to know the true answer is that you kind of can't, and you're at the mercy of who you chose to produce your garments. It's happened, right? You might get a good sample, and then when you get your finished pieces of 144 items or 14,000 items, it's not what you were expecting, and it's a real issue, and it happens in the market. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that do unworthy work. They exist in all industries, and it's kind of up to the consumer to deal with it as it comes.
Yes.
So that'd be the same thing in the industry too. It's just a matter of watching your production team.
What steps are involved in creating a strong brand identity for your fashion label?
Say it one more time, Mohammed.
I just said, what steps are involved in creating a strong brand identity for your fashion label?
That that's kind of like I want to say personal, due to the individual who's creating it. And some of us are out for profits, some of us are out for messages, some of us are out for looking for the word, like a Tom's, like a Tom's brand, where you create something but you're giving something with every sale. Just like a reciprocal type of brand. I would honestly say, just speaking to your target audience, man, because everybody's voice is not the same. So to the individual who has the idea to create this garment, whatever it is that drives you to want to create it, is the strongest element. Really, honestly.
Well, how do you effectively promote your fashion brand in a digital age?
Well, I think nowadays, I just truly believe that, word of mouth is still strong. I do believe that everything is like organic and starts from inside and goes out.
You said an important point here. Word of mouth.
Yeah, it's the oldest traditional form of marketing known to man.
This is the most important one.
It's the oldest traditional form of marketing known to man, is what someone has to say about you. And so, right, or your brand or your product. Oh, you got to try this. It works so good for me. It's just this. That's it. Period. And you know what? A good product that does what it's intended to do or performs well under pressure per se, people naturally talk about it without even have to be sold or told or paid or promoted. It's a good product. And so they're going to tell everybody naturally. And I mean, that is, I'm sure every brand, I don't care what you're selling, dish soap, socks, if it's a good product, people are going to mention it to the next person.
Mhm. Well, what distribution channels can you explore to reach your target market?
Internet. The internet has to be on the top as far as like
Yeah.
channels. However, you could do a sizable amount of movement and traction
Uh-huh.
with
Uh-huh.
local organic options. You want to support. Go ahead.
What are the platforms?
So I'll give you an example of something that someone
Right.
could do that has nothing to do with the internet. Let's say, for an
Uh-huh.
example, a person has a sports type of brand. It's let's say it's hoodies and it's a sports brand. Hoodies, t-shirts, hats, and they're designed
Uh-huh.
for a youth market. Okay, well, maybe sponsoring a youth league sports team might be a way for you to get your product in front of the eyes of the parents,
Mhm.
get your product in front of the eyes of all the attendees. You can give items away to kids that perform well in the games. You
Mhm.
find ways to put the product in the hands of your market without like losing too much value.
Mhm.
And then you add your Facebook ads and your website marketing, and
Mhm.
maybe so there's a combination of methods, but they should be different like platforms. So you got, like, I'm giving some raw examples, but sponsoring like a youth sports team, and then maybe you take out an ad in a local paper, and then maybe you have your internet, and then again, everyone doesn't have the friends and family support network, but definitely identifying who is in your immediate circle of support is also fair grounds.
Amazing. How do you incorporate sustainability into your fashion design and production?
Sustainability. Let's break that question down. How do I
Okay.
provide sustainability? Was that the question?
Yeah.
And so, what you mean, Muhammad? Like,
I mean, what makes you sure that your product will has sustainability uh, on the long term, say?
and when we say sustainability, are we meaning like the product's gonna last through the elements, or are you
We could
saying the
say in a period of time, in certain period of time. It doesn't have to be long time. Maybe maybe we are like designing t-shirts for the summer, and how could we make sure that those t-shirts we could say we will finish all the packages that we have at the end of the summer. Nothing will stay.
you're gonna sell out? Sell out, you mean
How,
like you move through all the items? Well,
how can we make sure like
well,
it has to be some steps, some we could say you understand that more than me because this is your major and
no, I do, and I feel like the question, it gets answered a few different ways. It kind of depends on
uh-huh.
who you are, depends on who
Yeah.
you are in the game.
Yeah.
But let's say we're all like novices starting out.
Uh-huh.
One key element here is to mind
Uh-huh.
your ordering. So, for example, you mentioned t-shirts, summertime, da da da. Well, people are more likely to buy a t-shirt in the summer or in the good weather than in the bad weather, right?
Uh-huh.
So maybe the first step to ensuring sustainability in a brand is not to over purchase
Uh-huh.
for a season, because it's always better to sell out of your product like for
Mhm.
real and not for fake, because a lot of people will say it's sold out when really it's not, just for marketing measures. But
Mhm.
if you could actually sell out of a product, it's great for a young company. And, you know, that could be 20 shirts, it could be 200 shirts, it could be 2,000 shirts. If you sell out, it's good for a young company. And it's better to be it's better to be desired than to be oversaturated in the beginning. Now, once you become a big company, there comes or bigger company, there comes a crossroads where it'll be cheaper for you to buy more items, but you may end up with this much left over in the end. And depending on how big of a company you are, that might be okay, because now you have items that you can, you know, offer raffle, some type of incentive that just, you know, makes the receiver feel like they're getting something of value for free, you know, and it just builds integrity for the brand. And, you know, it's actually a good part at that point, because that brand at that growth point in their company is paying least per item, because they've already grown out of that phase in the beginning where they're spending the most money per se, or more, not the most, but more.
Okay. Well, thank you for this thoughts. I want to take a look at the audience questions. So we have Jack here is asking, are there any specific fashion designs elements that you would like to learn more about or see implemented in future projects?
Good question. I do believe that the materials that we make clothes from will soon have like just new options. I feel like we're on the verge of, you know, things that we've never seen before, like self-drying jackets. Just weird stuff that you just, it rains on you. Oh, the jacket's gonna dry off. I mean, they got cars with air conditioning in the front seats. Like, I'm sure they're working on a jacket that's gonna blow AC on you or blow heat on you, or you understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to innovation, to answer that question, you know, I'll use the cars earlier as an analogy, but you know, you know, electric cars or hybrid cars, it's all new industry. And so I feel like some of that mindset is going to trickle into fashion. That's what I see coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Another question coming from Mary22. What advice do you have for aspiring fashion designers looking to break into the industry? Well, this question actually, me and my friends, we were asking together. We were sitting in a cafe, and then we were discussing some questions like this. We want to break into the fashion design industry. We need to know.
I'm Muhammad, I'm gonna give you my first thought that I was like, I couldn't get it. I couldn't wait to say this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm all ears. Yeah, go on.
It all boils down to your idea versus your finance, right? I mean, you could have, and I'm just gonna give you some experience. You have a clothing brand you want to make, and you say, okay, I'm gonna make this design, and this design. Now I got 3 designs. Now I want to make t-shirts. So now I got to make them in small, medium, large, XL. At minimum, I might need an extra small, and I might need a double XL. So that would make 6. So now you got to say to yourself, well, what colors am I using? Whatever you choose, you have to create the equation, and you have to start multiplying 3 designs by 4 to 6 sizes by 3 different colorways. When you start doing the math per item, it's adding up on you.
Maybe if I don't have
the budget.
I don't have a budget.
Yeah, but just because you have $1 million budget doesn't mean you should spend the max amount of money. It doesn't mean that, because it all boils down to the science. So let's say you narrow, and this is where that mood board and the visual board and even early projections, because let's say you do a projection board with numbers, and you just fill it in with fake numbers. Okay, the first week we sold this amount of shirts, second week, third week, and give yourself 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
but be realistic.
Mhm.
Be realistic, and you say to yourself, okay, how much does it cost me to sell these shirts? Where do I have to go? Where do I have to drive? Shipping, bada bada bada. You ask yourself all these questions, and then through experience, I've come to realize that um, less is more, especially in the
Mhm.
beginning. Especially in the
Mhm.
beginning, because if you can create a product that's one or two products, maybe it's just black and white.
Mhm.
That's it, mate. Or you choose your colorway that speaks to your brand, but you don't do three different things. You just do one.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now you're limited. Small, medium, large, Excel. You times
Mhm.
that, you times that. You put that out. You run through that product.
Mhm.
Now you have not only some brand integrity from having put something
Mhm.
out to the market, but you
Mhm.
also have generated funds.
Mhm.
And
Based in your experience, what are the sizes should I choose? Like, what makes me sure that this size I'll sell more than the others?
well, it's all about your market. In America, we're fairly
Mhm.
obese, and you're not going to
Mhm.
sell that many extra smalls.
Mhm.
So scratch that off the list. Small, I need a few. Medium, I need more. Large, I need a
Mhm.
lot, a lot,
Mhm.
a lot.
Mhm.
XL,
Got it.
enough. Two
Uh-huh.
XL, need two
Uh-huh.
XL. This is America.
Is it
This is
oversized?
America.
Uh-huh.
It is what it is. You
Yeah.
gotta understand where you're at. We eat a lot of
Uh-huh.
hamburgers over here.
Okay, if I don't have the okay, is there a specific amount of money to start? Like, is there's a you should get a little bit of how how much?
Nope, nope. I mean, speaking from US dollars, I mean, you can start a lot with $500 because you could literally buy t-shirts and paint them with bleach, draw a design with bleach. You could dye it with stain and you could sell it for $50, custom t-shirt. So how much money do you really need? You don't really always need a lot of money. You need a good idea and you need to do it. Between those two things, all the other questions will slowly begin to answer themselves
Uh-huh.
over time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let us jump into the next question. And yeah, the next one from user 84. How do you approach the challenge of reducing fashion waste in your production process?
Um, it's a good question. I mean, I think it boils down to just execution as far as
Mhm.
how you're designing. I'll give you one, and the only one I could give you right now is with silk screen. They
Mhm.
use like a plastisol ink, which is not healthy for the environment, and then they use something called a water-based ink, which is much more healthy for the environment and for the human being. Um, but they have different feel on the item. They have different texture, blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
so, depending on what that person is creating, they could ask themselves that question. How do I want to go about this?
Mhm.
I have a company that I'm working with right now that they need bags for their items, and one of their issues is that we see these bags all in the street, all in the garbage, it's trash. So the company owner doesn't want to copy what he sees already. He wants to make like biodegradable bags. So when the consumer is done with the item, when they throw it away, it doesn't add to the terribleness, of the planet. However, most of the consumers that buy the items that this bag would house the item, most of them don't care about the planet. So the owner is kind of stuck between, do I do the biodegradable stuff that I think is a good idea, or do I do the plastic stuff, which is what people seem to be okay with? So I mean, it all boils down to a personal question. The creator is in control of what they want to see in the end.
You got an experience in plastic design.
Uh, Not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Okay.
enough.
What do you believe sets your fashion designs apart from the other industry?
What do I believe? Say again?
Sets your fashion designs other apart from the others in the industry?
Well, when I was making clothes, because of lately it hasn't been a thing for me. I've been reselling shoes, uh, using the internet and personal measures, which I don't make
Uh-huh.
any. I don't make any shoes right now. But when I was making clothes, a lot of my uh roots in it was based on community input
Mhm,
and community
mhm,
assessment,
mhm,
and community inclusion.
mhm,
I recently was had a brand called the Connect,
mhm,
and the name is a play off of connection.
mhm,
And we were we were a lifestyle company, street
mhm,
lifestyle company. We sold
mhm,
bicycles and skateboards and street art supplies. And this was just something that I grew up around, and I always felt like I wanted to create a safe place for
mhm,
people that could come into the brick and mortar, and just be around like minds that per se understand their weekend, understand their lifestyle. And I think that the mission statement of a brand is kind of what sets them apart,
mhm,
and then obviously the actions of said company, just going back to like Tom's with the shoes, or a company that has like some uh donation based component, I think is, I mean, that's where I would like to go with my
mhm,
fashion brand, you know. So, I tend to think the other companies are on this stuff too, but I just feel as though in 2023 that the world itself is moving more into a philanthropic, you know, type of mindset. There's just going to be more people that need help, need shelter, need clothing, food. There's just going to be more human beings that need that. So, if you could have a company that generates a profit, that part of your company is to help other people, and you're still generating a profit. I
mhm,
just can't see how a company wouldn't want to have that as part of their high system.
mhm.
Can't speak for everybody, but you know, I'm into it. So I feel like,
Okay.
yeah, I feel like sometimes I tend to have good ideas, and then later on down the line, I'll see it somewhere else. Like, oh, I thought about that.
Okay. 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 I got a question that's for me. How do you stay motivated and inspired in a consistently changing fashion landscape? Because if you created tons of I don't know, but after that you didn't sell anything.
Well, first off, there are a lot of case studies out there,
Uh,
um, that you know you could draw some
uh-huh.
quality cue points, and you can see what they did. It's about re-innovating at that point. If you've created something that it took off a little bit and then it kind of caught a little stale, and now you're sitting on materials and you're just not running through them, it's a matter of reinventing the company. Sometimes, or the aesthetic, the look, this could be done with influencers. It could be done with sponsorships. uh there are some ways to creatively kind of uh
Mm.
spin a brand back into some motion and some traction. Trying to give you a good one. I mean, it's just all about, I'm gonna go to the law right now, right? And when you go into the legal world, lawyers and courtrooms tend to cite previous court law, and they want to use that as, well, if we did this in this case, then we should probably do this in this case. And so I would say, when it comes to, these questions about how to escape, avoid, or deal with certain factors of the fashion industry, a lot of it boils down to studying other companies that have like walked through the fire per se. And again, you're going to take out some cue points from each case study. And then it boils down to, putting that into your own mental equation and coming out with your answer. Like, there really is no one solid, easy, and there is no one website to solve all these problems. None of that. It just doesn't exist. If it was that easy, right? If it was that easy, it takes experience, execution, it takes winning, it takes failing, like, to, I believe, get to, a solid foundation of, knowing
fail
how
at the
to,
beginning. Is that 100% sure?
You're learning how to navigate. And it doesn't matter what industry. You have to try, see, win, fail. There'll be different amounts of each, and you just decide to keep going. Sometimes your best decision is to stop. Sometimes
a lot of people think.
Go ahead.
A lot of people think that they will succeed at the first at the first time.
Everybody thinks they're going to succeed the first time out the gate. And why wouldn't you think that? You're supposed to think that. It's called confidence, and it's called like wishful thinking and stuff like that. At the same time, once you start doing something and, things either work or they don't work. I mean, some people have wishful thinking. Some brands, I don't use the word people, some brands come out with their wishful thinking and it works for them. It works and they take off. I mean, there's a company called Cupcakes by Melissa. So it's a small little bakery thing. I mean, if you Google it, you're gonna find it, right? But
I'm gonna Google it after this event.
Cupcakes by Melissa. Regular female, started making these mini cupcakes. Next thing you know, she's got a brick and mortar in Midtown Manhattan, which is very expensive. Next thing you know, she's in all the malls. She's got a little mini cupcakes all over. Now, anybody can make a cupcake, but she did something different. She believed in it. They were mini cupcakes. So it made a person feel, I guess, less like, oh, I'm breaking my diet or whatever. I really can't tell you. I'm not a cupcake guy, but her company is successful. And I'm sure she started off wishful thinking. She said to herself, it only cost me this much to make them. People are loving them already. I'm giving them away for free. So if I make enough and I try to sell some, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But she went into a wishful thinking. And now she's all over the US selling cupcakes. Mini cupcakes. Again, it doesn't matter the product. It all matters to your approach, strategy, trying, failing, adjusting your frequency, come back to the drawing board different. That's what I think makes a successful company.
I'd like you to tell me, how many times did you fail? And inspire me.
Bro, how about this?
Okay.
There are people, I want to answer this question the best way I can. There are people that, you familiar with an app called Clubhouse?
I don't think so.
It's a social networking app that it's like this, but it's like a room full of people and they have different groups. And well, I was in there and I'm listening to, successful business people talk. Okay. And one of these guys says, well, I lost $1 million before I ever made $1 million. And I was like,
what?
Right? Like, what? But then, listen, I've met other people, physically met people that have told me, oh, I lost this amount of money before I made this amount of money. And I'm like,
how come?
Because you're constantly trying. Some entrepreneurs are constantly trying to adhere to something that's working for them. And when they might have something working and they say, oh, we're gonna take this and try this and take this and try this. And then this fails. Oh shit, we're starting over. Brand new companies, gotta go up. Or maybe this is still working, but then these two fail. So whatever money you put in that is now just finito. Listen, it's business. And over time, you learn
is.
that some ideas aren't worth executing at all or not yet, because you've already had so many experiences, you know, in your mind, okay, this is a good idea, but I can't do it without this. So let me wait. Let me find the right partner. Let me find the right strategy. So although it's an idea, you don't execute on it. When you're younger in mindset or just more youthful in your approach to business, you might take your little bit of savings and throw it on something that's just not ready for execution yet. And you know what? It's good that you did it, because now you know, as you're going through your ladder of further successes, you just know what to do and what not to do. And there's no way around it. There's no question you can ask. There's no person you can meet that's going to solve all your questions about, oh, is this the right way to go? Is this the right way to go? You just got to go with these two things. You know what I'm saying? Your gut and your brain. Your brain's telling you one thing, your gut's telling you something. And after a while, you begin to create your own like recipe for like what's good and what's bad. And let me tell you, Muhammad, right now, you know, I appreciate like being like here, being able to speak, you know, to an audience about my experiences in business. And I want to tell you that I'm still experiencing this stuff, like stuff from the beginning. Like it's not over. You know, maybe I haven't learned my lessons yet. I don't know. What I'm saying is I'm still trying, even though it seems to some eyes that I'm successful. My success is still yet to be met. You know what I'm saying? And that's always going to change. It's always going to change. Always going to have different levels of where you're trying to go and how you're trying to get there. You know, when it comes, let's just take it back to the fashion house. You know, the best thing a young person could do is that wants to be into the fashion is try.
Try and
That's
fail,
it.
try and fail, try and fail.
That's it. So the only other thing I can say after that is mind your budget. And then after that, it's, well, if you mind your budget, it's going to tell you I can only afford to do this and this. I can't afford to do what my brain is saying. Oh, I could. No, because that's it's a little too much wishful thinking. You want to. The name of business is turning profit. So if you could take one item and turn a profit, you're successful. If you got to make 9 products to try to break even, you're making it hard for yourself from the start. But sometimes we talk ourselves into saying, oh, I need this, I need that. And you don't. You might think you do, but you don't. But, you know, you're going to learn over time. It's just the way it
over
goes.
time by yourself. Yeah. By your
There's
mistake, you're gonna.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. And I encourage people to make mistakes. That's what I'm going to, you know, round off my talk with. I'm going to encourage you to make mistakes. Seriously, just budget properly. You don't want to spend, you know, the funds you need to survive on a project. So you know what? Let me dial it down. Let me start with it. Oh, I have an idea with a key phrase. Okay. What's the cheapest item I could put it on that I could sell it to people? Maybe a keychain, you know? It says I can make t-shirts or I can make keychains. I'm gonna make 100 keychains for $40. I'm gonna sell them for $1 a piece. And that's the beginning of a clothing line. You might think, oh, well, it's not clothes. It's not clothes, but it's branding. And people now have the keychain. And they bought it because they like you. They like your approach. So now you follow up with a garment. Could be a hat. Depends on your region. If it's cold, if it's hot. If
This
they're athletic.
is a huge amount of inspiration that I've heard. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. May I ask, at what age did you start?
started being in business?
Yep.
I got my first real job at 14. Right now, remember, I grew up in the United States, so you know
Bang. Wow.
that I don't know if that's traditional or not traditional, but I mean, everyone has their own story as to like what gets your wheel going, and for
Uh-huh.
what it's worth,
A lot of
uh,
people think that they gotta turn 20 or turn above 20 to build their own business or to start break into any industry.
no. I mean, if you're under 18 in the United States, there are certain legal parameters that kind of need to be dealt with, but you could start a company as a teenager. You will need an adult to help you, sadly, somehow, somewhere, but if you don't have it, then you will need a lawyer. You should hire a lawyer as a teenager.
As
you
you as
know,
you as you said, you started at 14.
I started at 14, but I started out really working as my first business, meaning just having a job at my age, at that age, to me was solid. And so, you go to school, you play sports, and then you got to work. And you don't
Mm.
realize as a teenager that you're building your mindset. So you get up for school 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. You got to get to school, study, do decent. Then I play sports. I play football. So I
Uh-huh.
had sports after school, and then I get home from school at 6:30, and then I got
Uh-huh.
homework, or I'd have a job. So what you don't realize is even at that young age, you're putting yourself in the position of working all day, working hard, working for your rewards. So just to fast forward, I went to college right out of high school, and I learned design for Photoshop, Illustrator, things like that in school. And
Wow.
so that was the beginning of knowing that, oh, I'm learning a skill set that I could like earn money from. But I was always that type of kid though. I had the little car wash in my neighborhood. The neighbors, I washed their car $5. You understand what I'm saying? I was the lemonade stand kid. So when you ask me like when you started in business, it was always there. But I just want you to know, like for a lot of people, a lot of people's over propensity, I don't know if that's the right word, their over aggressiveness to be included in
Mm.
business, I believe, starts from, I don't want to use the word poverty, but it starts from just having less than. So you start seeing stuff as a child, and it just makes you want to move in this direction, because you grew up around so much of this direction that you're either going to be that or you're going to exceed that. It just, there is no in between. And so, that's my personal story. You know what I mean? Like I had hardworking parents, I had hardworking grandmothers, but then I had people in my life who was making it hard. And I just, it's like, I can't do that. So I'm gonna be this guy. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna da 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 da. And that's it. I met up with the likes of like Stewart, and the people who like, like do this type of work, freelance. And so I was doing graphics and design young. And so that
Uh-huh.
was it. Once I got to learning Photoshop and Illustrator, and I knew I could make a logo and I could make it this and a sign and this and that. Oh, that was it.
Mm.
That was it. It was over. And I was
Uh,
17. I was 17. So by 17,
mm.
that was pretty much all she wrote for that. Everything was going to be business from that point forward.
Wow, amazing. Because a bunch of people need to listen to this inspiration more than anything else. They that's why they're here. All of our
I
audience
appreciate
need to, yeah. So how much popularity does fashion design have?
said popularity.
Yeah, maybe in your country,
And our
based on your
country is
experience.
big. And our country is big. You got New York right there. You know, New York and London, like the epicenter of fashion, right?
That means one of the most important designs industries there.
Yeah. LA, New York, London, Tokyo. These are like the
Okay,
these-
I finished all the questions. Do you got anything to say here to add? That would be really helpful.
well, one, I want to say you're doing a great job as a mediator, moderator, Mohammed. You
Thank
bring
you
out
very
the
much. I
you're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you bring it out, you know, because people ask questions all the time, and it's like sometimes you give them a dry answer because it's like the way they ask the question. But you have a very like you know, you can see the enthusiasm in your approach, and you know, just as companies, as far as image appeal, you know, we're working hard to try to get these thoughts and ideas out to the people. And I just want to like say a big up to our team, and to our audience, and as far as like you know, just today's talk to wrap it up, man, like we're here for the growth of the community, you know, and like that kind of goes back to my personal endeavors with business is I always thought the community was important and that the community is what really builds a company. You know, when I used to have my lifestyle brand and we had a brick and mortar, we had a lot of children, teenagers would come in and because that was our target audience, obviously. And you know, they would come in and you know, you could just see that they were appreciative to be somewhere that their parents might not understand, but we're their parents' age, but like we're in there hanging out. And so, you know, I say all that to say that I always knew having a pulse on the community will build a strong business, you know, because they're your salespeople. And you know, I would encourage anybody listening that wants to create something, you know, to explore their innermost circle and just work your way out as far as organics, you know, like, you know, just say you made a t-shirt or let's go back to the keychain. You know, the thing about the keychain is there's no size, there's no limitation. People will buy it from you because they like it. People will buy it from you because they like you. People will buy it from you because they just want to support somebody young doing something. It's not expensive. It's not, you know, it's not too much of a speaking piece that like it's gonna. It's not. It doesn't bother people to support other people when they buy a product that I'll put it on my keychain and it just hang there. It's not like I gotta buy a shirt. Now I gotta hang it. I'm not even gonna wear it. You know, again, these are things that you think about because people will support you and never use your item. They're just supporting
Mhm.
you. You know what I mean? They just support, or they might buy your item, but they don't really need it. They got 100 shirts, but they're gonna buy it because they like what it says, or they like you, or they know someone they could give it to, or whatever. And so when you're just starting out, you know, I just want to say that sometimes we could be our own worst enemies when we're just starting out because we feel like, well, I gotta have this whole array of products that gonna cost me X, Y, and Z. Not really. You just need to understand who your market is and physically, literally write down all your prospective sales, family, distant friends, um, co-workers, da 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 da. Now you write all those names down and you find out how many names you got. You might have 100 people. You might have your first 100 sales right in front of you. But if you're not even exploring that channel because you feel as though, oh, I have to make my way to the center of town. I have to pay money to do this, to do that. You're already making your own worst enemy. And we don't even know it. We think we're doing the right thing, but we're actually going. And these are all things that I've picked up in my failures, bro. And it's
Yeah.
fine. You know, I don't
Mhm.
mind the failing because I'm still equally as passionate as I've always been. You know, I just
Mhm.
don't really move as fast.
Mhm.
I'm still throwing money at things, but you know, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
That's a business person's like, you know, it's you want to try so hard. You want something to stick so bad that you try
Yeah.
different things, but it's
Mhm.
to your best interest to
Mhm.
understand what you're good at and what
Mhm.
people like from you. And so those are the things, when again, we're moving away from fashion, but business talk. You want to do things that you're either good
And
at.
fashion is business as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, we're talking more on just general business at this point, how to be successful at business,
Mhm.
and you can have things you can create, and then there's things that people see in you that they like and or would buy from you. So again, it's I can only give you examples, but
Mhm.
there are people who fix their own cars, right? But they would never want
Mhm.
to have an auto garage. They would never want to have an auto garage because they do it for themselves, but 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 they don't want to really deal with customers and people and things like they don't want to do that. However, for the person who is knowledgeable at fixing cars, you might not want to be the person to own the shop, but you could be affiliated with a shop and start to earn customers that way because these people know you for being a good mechanic. So now you could go to another good mechanic and say, hey, you got a space. I want to bring you more customers. You give me 10% of every customer I bring in here. Now he don't got to fix cars for anybody else. But when people ask him, hey, can you fix my car? Instead of telling them no, he can give them a business card and say, I'm affiliated with this place. They do good work like me. Go there. So again, it's just the idea of the notion that there are always ways to do good business, but you could really hurt yourself trying to do things that you don't really want to do, even though you're
You
good
can
at it.
really you can really benefit from your talent without having a budget or without having anything by affiliate marketing. You gotta get customers to somebody else, maybe in the same field as you are, or in another field, we could say, but at the same field that would be really, we could say, would be really great because you bring something you understand what it is instead of bring customers you don't understand what is that market it is,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
This is a good point that you mentioned here, and I really appreciate it from you. And I don't know, I got empowered by your overview and thoughts.
Bro,
Absolutely,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
that's what we do here. My first brand was called The Connect, and I'm still trying to find ways to bring this brand back to life. And what we did in this phone call is exactly what I want to do with that brand. Just touching people, youth minds through the activities that they love, that we're familiar with, skateboards, bikes, graffiti, fashion, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I want to help people. I want to help people. Just got a message from Stuart. I want to help people grow how you just grew, and just through conversation and just through, just back and forth. Because
Yeah,
a lot of times we have the solutions to our answers inside. We just, you just don't know which way to go. So when you get to talking to people, it helps out.
I hope so. As many people say this good event, because a lot of people need to listen to this one. Thank you very much. Thank you, Primo. Thank you. Let's get to know more about image appeal. Okay, guys, there you have it. If you need unique branding, logo identity, social media, web, or any specific brand or digital marketing design, Image Appeal can help you. Image Appeal is an integrated design agency. We specialize in almost all arena of graphic design. We're operated by learning, educating, innovating, creating, and thus delivering output. A fast-growing agency with a talented creative team. Our style is to keep up with this dynamic industry, shifting and changing norms worldwide. We admire people who do businesses, launch projects, create, trade, and produce. Image Appeal will help you create an aesthetic, intelligent, and unique and practical design, especially tailored for your business. We provide exclusive graphic designs for corporate and startup businesses, developing awareness and consistent recognition, ensuring to bring your ideas to life with unique design solutions. Communicated it effectively to stand out from the market, we could say to stand out from the crowd, but I don't, we, we should say that's better than this to stand out in the marketplace. We are reliable in managing projects with high priority and meeting deadlines. You will have guaranteed quality service and an efficient process from the beginning to the end. Above all, we specialize in creating exclusive, modern, clean, and minimal design style work for any business industry. Contact us www.imageappeal.com and we'll help you to solve your business challenges using design instruments. Please visit our portfolio and discover our previous work at www.imageappeal.com. There you have it, guys. I hope you have fun with us, especially you, Primo. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you learned something new and exciting. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive. Stay tuned for next episodes. See you next time. Bye-bye.